So, guys, before I start, my neighbor's an asshole, and he's actually just doing a bunch of hammering and sawing. So it's been like that for the last 3 weeks. But I definitely just wanted to drop this video, and what I want to say is that Eric Bischoff did a post about like the Young Bucks and just saying that with AEW they do have matches and excuses for matches, and this is a classic example of how AEW makes excuses for matches and there's really no story here or long-term story. And I kind of really feel that way. And I think that one thing that's really hurting AEW now really is the Young Bucks in this feud, because there's really like no sense of, why they're doing what they're doing, or it feels more like an interruption. And it also kind of feels like, what, they're actually using the CM Punk controversy, when I think that if they wanted to do that, it would have a lot more power months and months ago. I really think that it does fall a little flat. And I also think with the Young Bucks, they have more of, what, get the fuck off my television heat versus actual, what, it's going to draw money heat. The great example is like Ric Flair in the 1980s, or The Rock right now as good examples of heel heat. It's going to draw money. But nowadays, get the fuck off of television is a majority of stuff you see in TNA, where it's almost like Aces and Eights is going on for too long, or them pushing the WCWs and WWE guys for too long instead of pushing TNA people. Like things that you don't want to see, and it's going to make you click your channel. And it's the same thing with the Young Bucks. I think that the things that, people don't want to see is that I think honestly they're at the point where they really need to kind of move away from the CM Punk controversy and all that stuff. Like, that's old news. And, a file culpa, unfortunate fortune, is that there's a lot of people who are not paying attention to any problems in AEW because Vince McMahon's controversy has overshadowed it. And then also the mercurial title picture at WrestleMania has overshadowed it. Like you had Rock versus you had Cody versus Roman, Rock versus Roman. Now you're doing Cody versus Rock. Cody versus Roman, and you may set up a match where it's Roman versus Cody in a tag team type of thing. So that's kind of like the so as I said, like honestly, it makes the CM Punk thing a lot more dead, really. And honestly, this entitlement angle should have just been established long ago. And I also think that the other big issue is the ranking system, because now you're seeing the Young Bucks violate the ranking system. And I really think that the other big issue is what power do they have with Tony Khan? Because obviously you can't do something where Tony Khan is upset that Sting gets beaten down to a point where he comes down to the ring, and then actually there's no response from Tony Khan, that you beat it up a legend, you beat up a person who's in his 60s, and obviously, if you're gonna bloody a legend in his 60s, like that's a really big deal, because obviously, that can kill a person of that age. So there's a huge sense of plot holes. Since Tony Khan's in charge of the EVPs, what would he do? Why is he not reacting to this, on television? It's a little stupid. And how does he let the Young Bucks get a tag team match when they actually are not even in the top five? And then you're trying to establish with Swerve and other people that the ranking systems matter. It doesn't make any sense. Unless, like I've said, that honestly, what they should have done at the very beginning is say that there's three rules in AEW. It goes by the ranking system, it goes by the champion's choice, and also goes by Tony Khan's choice. But what the champion and Tony Khan have to consider is that if they want people to jump in the line, it has to be something that's going to draw a lot of money. And definitely, if you look at Young Bucks versus Sting, that will draw money versus a rematch with Ricky Starks and Big Bill. And also too, you can even do something where Ricky Starks and Big Bill turn babyface, and they're like, what, we want to actually kind of support this, because obviously, what, you guys have held us back, and other things like that. The Young Bucks have held us back. There could be this storyline people standing up to the Young Bucks, or even like, there's a bunch of tag teams and other people during the tornado tag, they're on the rampway looking at the Young Bucks and being like, you guys are you're gonna get what's coming to you through Sting and Darby Allin, but if not, we're gonna take care of it. There's things that you can do, but I do think that. And then another thing that I've kind of said with my fantasy booking is that I really think the Young Bucks and Adam Cole should join the Devil's Faction, the Undisputed Kingdom. And I kind of did a couple of months booking towards that and a betrayal storyline. So I also kind of think that that's another thing with AEW is that when they're a clusterfuck and they try to do too many things at one time, or they try to move storylines too quickly, that never works for them. I think when they do it long term, they're actually super strong. So I do kind of think that, definitely, their result of turning the Young Bucks heel too soon is not going to make people happy. Same thing with Adam Page. If you make him the AEW champion, you make them a heel faction or whatever, and then you're trying to be like, okay, well, they're heels, and now they have all the belts, and now you have the Undisputed Kingdom, which, should be in that position, really, type of thing. And then if you want to merge them, you have to kind of make it make sense, really, and you could do that at Revolution, but I think that, as I said, giving it a couple of months and all that would actually be, a better digestion to the audience, So I really agree with what Bischoff is saying. I do think that, as I said, it does feel very rushed. It does feel out of the blue. And then just having segments of the Young Bucks who are EVPs and have authority now executing their authority out of the blue, saying, okay, now we're doing, $100 fines, $1,000 fines. We're threatening to suspend people or fire people. People have to kiss our asses. We have to almost assault Tony Schiavone, but get out of there. How do they have matches with Top Flight and they don't tell the referee slow count for Top Flight, fast count for us? How do they not have Tony Khan, who was actually their bosses, and that can demote them, not do anything about it? So there's a lot of inconsistencies. It's just what? Is it just with Sting and Young Bucks that Sting and Darby and the Young Bucks that they have unlimited power here? So I also think that another big issue is plot holes and everything like that, really. And I think that if honestly it was too much to do that, you could have easily just gotten on the microphone and just said, okay, well, the Young Bucks want to have a match with Sting. This is who Sting wants to face, and we're going to apply these other rules to champion stipulations. And then you have Big Cass and Big Bill come down, and then they say something like, okay, you know what, we're actually the number one contenders because we've actually won a lot, but we actually respect, Sting and Darby, and we don't mind, and that turns them babyface. And even if they don't want to do that, they can actually set it up as babyface and then a swerve at the end, a swerve later on in time. And then Ricky Starr says something like, okay, well, since Sting is retiring, what happens if you win, Darby? Is it going to be one man to fight facing two people? Or are you going to find somebody who's also a loser? And then it's going to be a delayed ass whooping for you type of thing, we're eventually going to give you that ass whooping you deserve. No, that's good booking, because then it's you keep Darby out a little worried for a while. And other things like that, if he wins, or if Ricky Starks and Big Bill actually decide to ruin the match or whatever, So there's different solutions that they can have, really. I think with AEW, it's like what I said with all professional wrestling, that when you are creating a story for television, when you are making a movie, or I've done short films, and I've also kind of done the 40-hour film project competition where they inspire you to make a movie in a weekend. That sometimes when you are writing stories, you don't necessarily think of the plot holes. Usually the outside looking in is the people that think of the plot holes. And also sometimes the other thing too is that you need to kind of get to your story, your payoff, and what you want to accomplish with your story. So sometimes, it's hard to actually, it's really hard when you're actually in the meeting room and you're like, okay, well, we don't have the time and we don't have the complexity we don't have kind of the simplicity to kind of make it make sense. We just have to run with what we want to run with it. And sometimes that's the best thing. If you try to do the Stanley Kubrick thing, I'm saying, okay, well, let's try to get to this match, and let's how everybody like sits down and we do 100 drafts, and then we also use ChatGPT, and then we come up with like maybe 200 ways that this can happen. We'll evaluate every single one. You don't have time for that, and sometimes. Well, I met very meticulous people who do that, So sometimes I also think with Eric Bischoff is that two things is that he's not part of AEW or any promotion, so he probably doesn't understand that sometimes it's very difficult to make something make sense. Really, it's easy when you're the outside looking in. You don't have all the stresses and pressures, and then you have other like projects and deadlines and other things going on, and then also. Wasn't he in WCW where it was known for crappy storylines, and it was also kind of known for having a mentality of wrestling is kind of bullshit and silly, and it draws some money. So sometimes you need to, suspend disbelief or do what you want and be like, okay, it's part of the show when it's actually no story or a story getting confused or whatever. Or even if you look in TNA wrestling, same philosophy. Like the whole Hulk Hogan and Hogan era, there was a lot of just bad storytelling and other things like that, like aces and eights. Obviously if you have Devon Dudley in the aces and eights, which is kind of dumb because or you should have made him a member. Or made him go on injury and then he comes back later, but you don't have Devon Dudley in the aces and eights, and then you also have him exposed, and then you have Bully Ray Dudley, because then everybody knows, okay, well, obviously they've been partners for almost 30, 40 years, so obviously that's a dumb plot hole. Or you talk about Lethal Lockdown and you have things like Abyss pull his hand out of the ring, or you have that thing with Jeff Hardy where now you're changing him in Sting's match until a no disqualification just so you can do a pinfall. So so there are times in Eric Bischoff's career where he's had to improvise on the spot, or he's had people who want to do a long-term story and he's not interjected good storytelling skills, or he's kind of said like, okay, we don't have to have that standard of storytelling. So it also feels a little hypocritical, but it also kind of goes to what I've said, that everybody who has worked in television or who has done short films or features or everything like that, so if you are consistently doing it, you don't always have the luxury of time, and you also don't have the luxury of looking from the outside, because usually when you are looking from the outside, it's easy to critique what's going on versus actually in that expectation of deadlines. So like I've said, I really think that I don't like the story with the Young Bucks. It does feel out of the blue. You're trying to give them powers and other things like that out of the blue when they've had that all along. So, and then also you're having a ranking system, and now you're kind of proving that the ranking system doesn't matter because you're not establishing other rules and other things. And then you also have a thing where the Young Bucks are doing what they want, but Tony Khan is their boss, really. So it does two things. It kind of is like, that there's no, there's a plot hole right there. And then the other issue is that, obviously, if I have underlings, and it's not realistic, if anybody has like underlings under them that have a lot of power, and they assault a wrestler, and now they're going to have a match at like a major pay-per-view, why isn't Tony Khan commenting on it, So it does look very dumb. It's not the dumbest thing in wrestling, but it's the ways for them to kind of make sense of the direction they want to go in, which is the tag team match and championship defense. But I do think the big thing that they should just do is just have Sting and Darby win, and then, like I've said, like have Adam Page turn babyface and beat up. No, what you do is you have the triple threat match. You have either Samoa Joe or Swerve Strickland win, and then Adam Page walks out. And then what happens is during the main event, Adam Page, the Young Bucks cheat, and you have Adam Page turn babyface and save Darby Allin and Sting. And then what happens is that Sting retires, and then in Duluth, Georgia, Sting comes out and he says, okay, he's appointing Adam Page. And then you see Adam Page and Darby feud with the Young Bucks and other people and gain trust. And then you do a Blood and Guts pay-per-view or a summer pay-per-view or a Blood and Guts television show. And then that's when Adam Page and the Young Bucks join the Undisputed Kingdom. Like, that's the way to do it because that's a long-term storytelling. That feels more like a trust and betrayal and other things like that. And if you want to give the Young Bucks and the Undisputed Kingdom and Young Bucks all titles then and there, that would be the way to do it. So, I think that, as I said, it feels like, too rushed. It feels like it's not them getting over the right way. And it also doesn't have the emotional investment for you to kind of like despise the Young Bucks. So I do agree with what Bischoff was saying, but it definitely is coming from a hypocrite.